Okay. Always such a pleasure being here. One of the things that I've realized about MMI is that every single year there's always people who say, you know, when I started this program, my business was like this, my work life was like this, but somewhere in between or at the end, my business started to take shape. There's a contract that I got, there's a promotion that I got, and without fail, every year there has been those type of testimonies, without fail. So I believe there will be those testimonies even this year. Are you agreeing with me? I was watching a clip earlier, and it was of Lionel Messi in 2016. They had just lost, I think, to Chile, the Copa America Cup. Lionel Messi was always well renowned for his club achievements, but everybody said he has no international awards. And in that video, they showed him on a bench, and they just lost the Copa final, the Copa America final, to Chile, and he was so dejected. And after that final, he decided that he's going to quit international football. 2016. But somebody convinced him that you need to come back to international football. After he came back, he won 3 international trophies, including the World Cup. But imagine if he had listened to his feelings in 2016. Everybody would still be saying, no, but he's got everything but doesn't have the World Cup. So within this year, there might be a breaking point for you, a 2016 for you. And you are sitting on that bench. And you are thinking, is it worth moving on and going on and continuing? But it might just be your Lionel Messi moment. And whether or not you get the trophy will depend on, are you going to listen to those feelings of negativity? Let's say I've tried and tried, I've been coming on the Saturdays, I've been trying to do my segment, I've got all these other things that are pushing me and affecting me negatively. Or am I going to listen to that voice that says, go back again and go and complete? Because if he had not come back, he would have not won the World Cup. So also during this year, when you meet those moments, think of Lionel Messi. And it's not just a principle for this 9 months, it's a principle for your life, your business, your workplace, whatever endeavor that you're pursuing. There will be a moment where you're on the bench and you've just lost the final. But whether or not you get that ultimate trophy that you're looking for will depend on whether you choose to quit or you choose to come back. Are we together? All right. So the topic for today is purpose and personal identity. Purpose and personal identity. We're in class. I'm glad everybody's got a pen and paper because you're going to need to take quite a number of notes. And then also go back and reflect on what we discussed today. It's fruitless to build without a foundation. You know that if this building didn't have a foundation, I think none of us would want to be inside it. Because the foundation is what keeps it upright. So here at MMI, our foundation is the Word of God, right? So we're going to start with a couple of scriptures just to give us a foundation, and then we're going to go deep into our topic. The first scripture I want us to ponder on is Jeremiah 29:11. I think it's one of those scriptures that if you're a Christian, you probably know it by heart. And it says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And there's some thoughts that I want us to ponder on based on the scripture. And the first thought is, if God knows the plans and purpose He has for me, then I have to get to know God. So I'm married, and there are some things that my wife knows that other people, my friends, don't know. Because the level of relationship is such that there's an intimacy, and there are things she knows that even somebody who's a friend, who's 10 meters away, she's here. And it's the same with God. If you want to know the plans that God has for you, then it's about the relationship with God. Is it making sense?
Yeah.
So the level of intimacy that you have determines the level of revelation that you will have. Because the intimate relationship I have with my wife means that there are things that I'm comfortable enough, I trust her enough to tell her those things. But somebody whom I have no relationship with, there are things that I'll never tell them. Because there is no intimacy between us. So if God is saying, I know the plans I have for you, but you have no relationship with Him, do you think He will reveal the plans He has for you? So one of the foundational things we have to do is to get into relationship with God. Because He says He knows the plans He has for us. But in order for us to know those plans, we have to get into a relationship. And God reveals things to those who know Him. Our next scripture is from Acts 18:36. And it says, now when David had served God's purpose in his own generation, he fell asleep. He was buried with his ancestors, and his body decayed. That's Acts 18:36. And here are a few thoughts to ponder on. When you die, will you have served God's purpose in your generation? You know, they say that on your tombstone, there are 2 dates, no? The day you are born and the day you die. And in between those 2 days, there is a little dash. So, purpose is about what did you do with that dash. The first day and the second date are guaranteed. In maybe 100 years' time, all of us are guaranteed you will be gone. Right now, we are in the dash. We are living in the dash. That little dash in the middle. So the question is, what are you doing with your dash? By the time that second date is announced, are people going to be saying about you and the dash? Will your dash be a thin, little, small dash, no contribution? Gifted, talented, but did nothing with those gifts and talents. Was given time, was given opportunity, but did nothing with the time and opportunity. So purpose is about making that dash count. It's about making that dash matter. So when you die, will you have served God's purpose in your generation? And another thing to ponder is what enabled David to serve God's purpose in his generation is back to our first point. The Bible, time and time again, it says David was a man after God's own heart. When he chased God, his purpose chased him. As he pursued the Lord, his purpose pursued him, and he was able to achieve great things. Okay, our next scripture, and this will lead us into the teaching, the first part of the teaching. It's in Genesis 1:28, and it says, and God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on earth. And so our question is, why on earth were you born? And you were born to multiply. You know, the Bible is both literal and figurative. And when you think about multiplication isn't merely literal or physical, it's also figurative. Yes, when God said, go forth and multiply, he was talking about them filling the earth with their seed, right? He was talking about go and make babies. But that statement isn't restricted to just having kids. There are seeds that God has planted in you that you need to go and start sowing and multiplying. And the theme I'm going to use today is pregnancy. And I'll go through each point. Number one, when you think of pregnancy, pregnancy is internal. Pregnancy happens within you. Have you ever seen a woman who was pregnant but her belly wasn't growing? Then she's not pregnant. The fact that you see that visibility of the belly growing, it means there's something within her that is developing. And one of the mistakes we make is that we seek external validation for the things that are happening within us. So there's a dream that you have within you, but you keep going to people and asking them, do you think I can become an entrepreneur? Do you think I can excel in this company? It reminds me of the chapter in Matthew where Jesus was asking his disciples, Matthew 16, and he asked them, who do men say that I am? And they answered, some say you are John the Baptist, some say you are this and that prophet. But then when Peter said, you are the Christ, you are the Messiah, he said, you have the revelation. And Jesus was able to point out the right answer because he knew the answer already. The danger is when you do not know what's internal, what's within you, what God has placed within you. When somebody says you are John the Baptist and you think, wow, John was such a great character, yes, I'm going to become that. And then you start becoming things that God has not created you to be. Simply because you have no revelation of what God has placed within you. And you are depending on external people, external circumstances to now determine who you are. If Jesus did not know who he was, and he said, yes, I am John the Baptist, do you see what he would have neglected or relegated? So now we have to start asking ourselves, what are we neglecting and relegating by becoming things that God has not put in us to be? When we take on the labels that society puts on us, then we become a lesser version of ourselves. We become a version of ourselves where instead of being Jesus, we become John the Baptist. Instead of becoming that multi-millionaire entrepreneur I'm supposed to be, I'm fine with just being the general manager. Because I have not internalized who I really am. I do not really have a full revelation and understanding of who God has made me to be. And so I become comfortable with becoming what you label me to be, or what you want me to be. You know, it's amazing in companies, and I know we have people who are marketplace ministers and you're meant to be in companies, and we have people who are entrepreneurial. But I want to make this point. In companies, especially if you're a good performer, sometimes the managers will tell you, the leaders will come to you and say, you know, we have great plans for you. It sounds very good, but it's actually a very dangerous statement. Because they have great plans for you. They have looked at you and they said, you have these gifts and talents, and we can use them in 5 years' time. We see you doing this and that in this company. And if you have no personal vision, then that vision will sound great to you. But if you have a personal vision, you say, but in 5 years' time, I won't be here. You can just nod and agree, oh, that's nice. But if you have no personal vision, then you're going to submit to somebody else's vision for you. And then you come out of that meeting rejoicing, oh, in 5 years' time, I'm going to be a manager in this department. That's the plans they have for me. when in reality you have the capacity to become the competitor to that company. But if you have no personal vision, then you submit to the vision of somebody else. And you become a version of yourself that is not aligned to who God wants you to be. When you don't know who you are and what God has gifted you with, you will become who others say you are. Second point, so the first point we made is that it's internal, it happens within you. So don't go running after external validation. Yes, you can ask people, you can have mentors, you can, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. You can have people who bounce off ideas, people that you trust. But remember that it's internal. God put the seed inside the apple, he doesn't put the seed outside of the apple. So it's internal. Number two, timing is important. So I've got an older sister, and in 2016, she gave birth to a handsome young boy called Lebone. And Lebone's birth was quite interesting. So you've got a 9-month program here, and you know that at the end of 9 months, a woman, nature dictates that she gives birth, right? So when my sister was pregnant with Lebone, 9 months came, and Lebone was still quite comfortable in a home. The 10th month came, and you say, I'm chilling here, But then it started becoming dangerous for my sister and for the world. And they had to do an emergency C-section. So a mistimed birth creates problems for both the carrier and what you're carrying. And sometimes God has given you something that, like we said, is internal. God has given you a dream, a vision, a purpose that you have to deliver in the earth. Like we said, go forth and multiply. But the timing is critical. Yes, you can feel maybe after 3 or 4 months and there's something in here. But that may not be the time to birth it. There's a period that you may need to go through. Because if you give birth to it too early, then Eva is stillborn. And then the business fails, the project fails. Because the timing, you give birth to it too early. But then sometimes 9 months comes. But you're saying, no man, I need more time on this. It's not the right season for me to register this business and start and get it going. And then 10 months comes. And now it's dangerous. For you, your mental well-being, your spiritual well-being, and for your dream, the thing that you are carrying. Because you may find that God has made it such that there is a particular need that you're going to birth your business in this season, because in that season there is a particular need that has arisen that your business will meet directly. So it's critical that you birth in that window period. Are we together? Mm-hmm. But if you say, no, man, I haven't learned enough in this company. And sometimes, a lot of times, the company is an incubation. It's the place where you learn what to do when you go out on your own. And sometimes it's so comfortable, like I'm saying, Lebon, I look comfortable in the belly. He didn't want to come out. Not knowing that it's critical that it comes out. So sometimes you're in this organization, in this particular area, and it's critical that at that particular point, you birth what you're supposed to birth. So timing is important. Don't give birth to it too early, but also don't give birth to it too late. There's a quote I like, it says, the opportunity of a lifetime must be taken in the lifetime of the opportunity. When that window of opportunity is open, jump through that window. Because you don't know when it's going to be closed. the opportunity of a lifetime must be taken in the lifetime of the opportunity. So spot the opportunity and make the best use of it. Okay, timing is important. Our next point, what are you feeding on? What are you feeding on? So in 2015, got married and my wife and I went on an honeymoon, and one of the nights we were in a restaurant and there was a lady, she must have been 7 months pregnant, because another pregnant too. We're in the restaurant, she's sitting maybe 2 tables away from us. And guess what she was doing? Oof. Pop drum. Yeah. And we could tell or no, she was having a glass of wine, but it wasn't her first one. And unfortunately, it wasn't her last one. So, she was feeding on something that's not good for what she's carrying. And we are shocked, because it's something that we see in the physical, but ask yourself in your own life, the thing that God has given you, the thing that you are carrying within you, what are you feeding? Are you going and researching on it to feed it? Are you going into different companies and doing research? Are you going on different sites and doing research? What are you feeding the thing that you're, or are you just on social media sites, looking at Netflix, things that are not feeding the thing that you're carrying? So ask yourself, what are you feeding your baby? Are you like that woman that is heavily pregnant, but wearing a glass of wine and contaminating the thing that is within you, the dream that God has given you? What are you feeding? I've got a very close friend of mine. We went to school together, and his name is Elroy. And the peculiar thing about Elroy, ever since I've known him, from the age of 15 and whatnot, whenever you find him, he'll either be reading a leadership magazine or a car magazine. So for years, that's what he's been feeding on. Today, he's got his own successful automotive company. He just bought a house in a beautiful area. We had a bride, I think, 2 weeks back. He's doing extremely well. But the baby that is birthed, he's been feeding it for years. There are things that he's learned about business, leadership, and the automotive industry that now he's reaping the rewards of it through his company. So he's been feeding the baby. Now the baby is giving birth to it and it's growing. And the beautiful thing about the baby is that you raise the baby. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But when you've raised the baby enough, you know that you've been feeding the baby for years, but there's a point where the baby starts feeding you. So there's a point where the thing that you're going to birth will start feeding you, and it's not just about you feeding it anymore. So what are you feeding your baby? And one of the things we have to do is make a conscious effort to start feeding our babies. If another say, Matume there is one of those people, when God said, go forth and multiply, he took it literally. So him and his wife they just had the second born. So, but he'll tell you that if a day goes by and the baby has not been fed, there will be no sleeping in that house. No, it's time for me to be fed. So you can't get away with feeding your baby once in a while. whatever your baby is, whatever your dream is, you can't get away with feeding your baby once in a while. You have to be consistent about feeding your baby. If you have a little baby, you know, okay, 3 o'clock, I must feed the baby. 5 o'clock, I must feed the baby. 6 o'clock, I need to give the baby her or his milk. You need to adopt the same attitude towards your dream and your purpose. But okay, at this particular point in time, I'm going to be researching my industry. I'm going to be doing my marketing plan. I'm going to be doing my sales calls. Because if you don't feed your baby consistently, you endanger your baby. Your baby might become malnourished. So you have to be very intentional about feeding your baby on a regular, consistent basis. Our next point, what you are carrying is also carrying you. When I was doing research on this, one of the things I discovered was that a fetus can send stem cells to repair a mother's damaged organs. So when a lady is pregnant and one of her organs encounters damage, the baby, the thing that she is carrying, sends stem cells that actually start repairing the organ that is experiencing failure. So with your own dream, the thing that you are carrying, when you go through disappointments, your dream is going to start sending encouragement to you and say, no, but don't give up. There's something bigger and better ahead. That's why the Bible says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Because if you have no vision, if there is nothing that you are incubating inside, then it's going to be easy for you to give up. Because there is nothing that's internal that's encouraging you to keep going. So as you go through the various hurdles and potholes, your baby, your dream will keep saying, no, but you know what, there's a point beyond where you are right now. This is just a yield sign or a stop sign. It's not the end of the road. And it will encourage you to keep going. But the determining factor is there something within you that's going to send you that encouragement? Is there that fetus within you that's going to send you those stem cells? Is that vision and dream alive within you? So that's the point that made what you are carrying is also carrying you. Next, what you're carrying isn't what someone else is carrying. What you're carrying isn't what someone else is carrying. There's a story of this dog and elephant that became friends. And they got pregnant at the same time. And then within about 3 months, the dog gave birth. 6 puppies. A few months down the line, the dog falls pregnant again. Gives birth to another 3 or 4 puppies. A few months down the line, the dog falls pregnant again. It falls pregnant again and gives birth. And then it looks at the elephant that is still pregnant. Well, elephants can be pregnant for like 22 months or something. Pardon? Are you confirming? Do you have a vet in the house? A zoologist. But the dog looks at the elephant and says, are you sure that you're pregnant? Because we fell pregnant at the same time, but now I've given birth, I've fallen pregnant again, I've given birth numerous times, and when you claim that you're still pregnant. And the elephant says to the dog, you know what I'm carrying isn't what you're carrying. When I give birth, the earth shakes. It begins to tremble. People travel from all over the world to see what I have given birth to. So what you are carrying isn't what somebody else is carrying. And sometimes we want to compare ourselves with other people. And even the Bible tells us that it is not wise to do so. Because once you start comparing, you start creating limitations of yourself. And you go into, you start going to the low self-esteem, low self-image, simply because you are comparing what you have and what you're doing with what somebody else is doing. It's almost like, Jesus tells us that the church is like a body. But if the eye compares itself to the mouth, it is not being wise. Because the eyes have a specific function. The mouth has a specific function. Instead of competing with one another, we should rather be seeking to completing one another. Because when all of us are in our rightful place, then the whole system is able to function the way it's supposed to. But sometimes we are the eye, but we want to compete with the mouth. We are the ear, but we want to compete with the nose. So what you are carrying, your particular purpose and function, isn't what somebody else is carrying. And imitation is always limitation. So when I came to Johannesburg, one of my uncles, he took me to Small Street. Who knows Small Street? Hey, one knows all the others. That hand, yes, good up quickly. So if you know Small Street, you know that not everything in Small Street is what it says it is. So my uncle, bless him, he wanted to buy me a pair of Levi's jeans, but obviously we didn't have the finances to buy me the original, but I was still appreciative of the gift. He bought me a pair of Levi's jeans from Small Street, right? And I think my sentence there should give you a clue. Imitation is imitation. And one of the things I noticed later, years on and years later, I was able to buy an original pair of Levi's jeans, and I was able to make an assessment. That imitation pair of jeans cost maybe 70 rand. The original cost 700 rand. So one of the things that imitation limits is value. The value of the imitation will always be less than the value of the original. In this case, 10 times less. So when you try to imitate and become that which God has not created to be, you see somebody, you say, I want to be just like that person. You will always be an imitation. Your value will always be limited. Because you are not made to be that particular thing. So number one, imitation always limits your value. It's good to be inspired by people, but don't try to become them. Because your power is in being who you are created to be. So number one, imitation limits value. Number two, imitation limits your potential. Sometimes you are trying to become something that you have the potential to be greater than. Because you can never surpass that which you are trying to imitate. If it's a fake pair of Air Jordans, you know that it can never become more than the real pair of Jordans. And the thing is, it's got all the material. So somebody has material to create a pair of sneakers. No? They can decide, I'm going to use this material to try and copy a pair of Air Jordans. Or they can be innovative and say, with this material that I've got, I'm going to create something completely new that over time may even become more valuable than the Jordans. But simply because they chose to take the material and try to become Air Jordans, their potential will never surpass Air Jordans. And so there are things that God has given you. There is material that you have. You've got time, you've got talent, you've got all this intrinsic beautiful stuff. And with that material, you can choose to say, I'm going to take this material and I'm going to try and become like such and such. Or you can say, I'm going to take this material and I'm going to develop something unique, something that is true to who I am. Because once you do that, your potential has no limit now. You're not limited by the Air Jordans that you're trying to imitate. Are we together? So imitation is always limitation. So we say it limits your value, limits your potential, but it also limits your happiness. It's hard to be happy when you are not authentic. Because for an actor, you always have to put on a mask and pretend to be that which you are not. And that stifles your happiness. And it's one of the reasons so many people are unhappy, because they are trying to be something that God has not created them to be. And when they are alone at night or alone in the mirror, they have to face the truth and reality that that which I'm portraying is not true and intrinsic to who I really am. So imitation also limits your happiness. One of the things I noticed as well about that pair of jeans, you go Small Street, wear Palisa shorts. Is that after 3 weeks, the color was already fading. I'd washed it maybe 3 or 4 times. But the color was already fading. And when you are in something that God has not created you to be in, you get worn out so quickly. In just a small amount of time, little tasks, and you're already deflated. Because it's not the area where God has created you to be authentically in. And so if you're always worn out, you know this thing here, Monday blues. So many people hate Mondays. They get tired even before they enter the office. Because they know intrinsically this is not what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. There's something greater that God has created me for. And so they are worn out even before. Imagine you're a runner and you're worn out even before starting the race. How are you going to perform in the race? So after 3 weeks, I think I probably spend a lot of time because I can't. So because how is this thing going to look in 6 months' time? But when I finally could afford the original pair, I had no problem with it. Even tomorrow fade, I don't worry because it still looks cool when it's starting to fade. It's original. It's still stylistic. It's all fresh. It's all cool because it's an original. Maria fade. After 3 weeks, I fade. I still need to wear this thing by October and November. I still need to be able to wear this thing. If it comes out every week, how is it going to look? And so when you find yourself in Prof was talking about that sweet spot, wear and tear. The wear and tear that happens there is the natural wear and tear that should take place, where you can just go and relax and come back and you are energized again. But wear and tear when you are in a place that you are not supposed to be, give misalignment. You know that in a car, one of the reasons is that it's important to have proper wheel alignment is that if it's misaligned, your tires get finished very quickly. You need to continually keep changing tires because there is no alignment. But if it's aligned, you know that your tires are supposed to last you 2 years and they last you 2 years, then you can change them. And when you are in the thing that God has created you to be, that wear and tear, there's alignment. Yes, you go up, you go for a retreat and come back, you're energized again. Are we still together? Yes. One of my favorite quotes is by the legendary speaker, Zig Ziglar. And it says, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. This goes back to our point of don't compete, complete. Sometimes you're competing with people that are supposed to be the catalyst for you to go to the next level. And if you just shifted your mentality towards them and say, I'm not going to compete with you, I'm rather going to help you achieve what you want to achieve, you may find that there is promotion when you take that particular philosophy. Maybe there's a business owner that you're competing with them, but you have a particular strength and they have a weakness that your strength can fulfill, that can help alleviate. And you go to them and say, I see you're doing well, but there's this area that you're not quite succeeding in. Can I help you in this particular area? And you find that by helping them as they rise, because you're connected to them, you also rise. Are we together? But if you decide, I'm not going to even touch, oh, there's a weakness there, I'm not even going to touch that, I hope that weakness makes them fall so that I can look superior to them. If you take that particular stance, there is an elevation that now you do not have simply because you are looking at them as a competitor, as somebody to compete with, as opposed to somebody who I can help complete. So that quote once again, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. And in reality, your competition isn't other people, your competition is what God has deposited in you. So let's think of somebody like Usain Bolt, right? Usain Bolt, I think his world record is 9 seconds 58. I got it. But if Usain Bolt was racing against me, I'll probably run a 30 seconds. But he's competing against me and he's happy that he beat me. And he ran 20 seconds and I ran 30 seconds. But he's measuring success according to the fact that he beat me. Do you see that he's limiting himself? So his real competition is not me. His real competition is the 9 second 58 that God has put in him. To say, I've given you ability and capacity to run at a speed that no man has ever run on earth. And you were recorded. So sometimes you're competing with people and that competition is what is limiting you from discovering the world record breaker in you. It's limiting you from discovering the business owner in you, the CEO in you, the leader in you. So your true competition isn't what other people are doing. It's what are you doing compared to the potential that God has placed in you. We are still together, no? Okay. So our next point, midwives are important. It's easier to birth a baby when you have experienced midwives with you. And this is what MMI is about as well. It's no coincidence that our program is a 9-month program. And all that we are your midwives. We're supposed to help you through your pregnancy and help you birth your baby. And it's easier to birth when you have midwives around you. There's a Chinese proverb I love. It says, if you want to know where to go, ask those who are returning. That's what the midwives are about. They come in, they give you guidance, they give you advice, they give you structure, they give you all sorts of things that help you to ultimately be successful. And sometimes we want to know where to go, but we're asking people who have not been there yet. We are populate. I don't know what I'm doing. That's why we're populate. They are nyaganyagi. But there's somebody English is not my mother's tongue. Yes. Everybody is not my mother tongue. You know, it's not my mother's tongue. So they are merely passenger. They have not been there yet, but you are looking to them to be midwives. So when look for the person who's returned. Somebody who can give you proper guidance. Are we together? Get the right mentor to teach you in the right things. If you want mentorship on writing books, on public speaking, I may be able to help you. If you want mentorship on fitness and how to get a six-pack, don't come to me. Language is right. If you come to me and you say, confidence, I want you to help me to get a six-pack, you're going to frustrate me. That's not my gift. That's not my gift. But if you come to me and say, I've got a book idea, how do I go from where I am to being published? Within 2 hours, we'll have a proper plan. Within 10 months, your book will be out. So go to the right mentor for the right thing. And you judge a mentor by his or her fruits. Biblically, we are taught that you judge a person, their character, by their fruits. If there are no fruits, don't go run into that tree. You are going to get hungry. You are going to starve. So when looking for a mentor, look for a person who has fruit in that particular thing that you want to achieve. Now I get a fruits in the, I'm working on it, but currently I have no fruits in the six-pack arena. Maybe in time to come, those fruits may develop, but currently I keep fruitless. But if you want to go in the area of authoring, I'm working on my 30th fruit. So because there are fruits that you can confidently come to me and I can guide you on how to produce fruit in that thing. So when you're looking for a mentor, look for somebody who has visible fruits in that particular arena. And the key to getting a good mentor is by becoming a good mentee. The essential key that a lot of people miss in finding a good mentor is becoming a good mentee. When you look at the relay race, I got the metaphor that we use is passing on the baton. I got a mentor is supposed to pass on the baton to you. Am I correct? But when you look at the relay race, when the person receives the baton, are they standing still? They are already running.
Yes.
But a lot of people are looking for mentors, they are looking for the baton to be passed on to them, but they are standing still. If I'm a mentor in my right mind, I will not give you that baton. Because you are not going to win the race. And sometimes we're looking for mentors. Pass me the baton, but you are standing like this. You are not in motion. There is no momentum that you've created. There is no ground and space that you've covered. Good mentors are attracted to mentees who have already covered some space. or you're passionate about this particular thing, what have you done so far? Or you're passionate about entrepreneurship, where's your business plan? How long have you been in operation for? How many clients do you have? Then I know that what I'm sowing into, sowing my time and my wisdom, is on fertile soil. Because even if there is no great fruits yet, at least the tree is out of the ground. I don't want to come there and be the one to plant the seed. The seed planting is not for me. The seed planting is for you. Now I can come and prune. The mentor comes and waters, gives you fertilizer, prunes the plant so that it grows properly. But if there is no plant that is visible, what then must I come to do? Because now I come with scissors. I come with equipment. But if I have this equipment and there is nothing to prune, then you are wasting my time. The seed is not mine, the seed is yours. And I can't plant the seed that is in you. It's your job to plant it. So the key to finding the right mentor is by becoming good mentees. Our next point, raise what you birth. So this morning, I woke up a little bit early, well, early for a Saturday anyway. My plan was go to Chisco. I'm gonna take out the clothes and then I'm gonna get onto my laptop and start doing my final preparations. But my daughter had different plans. I've got a 5-year-old. And I think I only got to do about, fortunately, this is a presentation I've done a number of times, so okay, it's here. But see, I only got 5 minutes to look at my presentation. Why? Because I've got a 5-year-old who kept saying, Dada, I want to play. And I heard somebody say, for children, love is spelled T-I-M-E. Did you catch that? Yeah. For children, love is not spelled L-O-V-E, it's spelled T-I-M-E. So now I have a choice. Here's my kid, Kimona, Kimisha schooling in the morning, on the weekday. I get maybe 10, 20 minutes to play with her when I come back from work. It's a Saturday morning. I've woken up a bit early, she's woken up a bit early. Am I going to spend time rehearsing a presentation that I'm quite confident to deliver? Or am I going to express love to her by giving her a TIMB? And I said, no presentation, and I'm going to go spend time. So now, the baby has been birthed. But now you see that there are responsibilities that come with now raising the baby. Because the decision I had to make this morning is part and parcel of me raising that baby. Raising her to know that she is loved. Raising her to know that she can be confident, that she matters. So once you've given birth to the thing that God has given you, the responsibility doesn't end there. Any mother, I'm sure there's a couple of mothers here. When you've given birth, it's only the beginning. The business owners in here will tell you, once you've registered that business, it's only the beginning. You've just given birth. Now you have to raise the baby. Make it profitable. Get the clientele. Get the marketing goal. Sales communication, marketing communication. What's my social media looking like? What's my sales process? What are my sales projections? Operations. Who do I need on my team? You are raising the baby. So giving birth is only the beginning. And labor. Labor is an interesting word because Labor speaks of work. I give like labor union. It has to do with workers. And when a woman is in labor, she's giving birth. So she's working as she gives birth. But even after she's giving birth, there is still work that's going to need to take place in raising the baby. And this is a point I made earlier. The baby you feed and raise today will feed and raise you tomorrow. Those of you who have parents, or older parents, maybe go pension, I'm sure if it's not every month, there are times where you just feel already, you're something. Am I correct?
Yes.
Even if it's 500 or 5,000, no whatever. Because they've raised you, there is something within you that says, no, I must just give them a little bit something. Higher. So the baby that you've raised, it will come to a point where it's independent and now it can raise you. I was talking to Matumi before coming and he's telling me about his business and how it's growing. There's a point where Matumi will be able to go on a holiday. And he bought a kumbi. I think his mission of bought a kumbi. So I think there will come a time where he's able to go on holiday at the kumbi. But it will be when he has raised his business to a level where I someone needed to be there at every client. Where now he has a team of people that report to him. But now he's actively raising the baby. But there will come a time where he has a team and the baby will then start giving back to him. And that's what we really want. We want to make money, really go Mauritius. I get. Okay, this one is for the next section. I'm going to give us 5 minutes. I'm going to give you a tea break. Just 5 minutes to stretch and then we'll come back. It's now, I think, 12 o'clock. Let's return at 5 past and then we'll continue to the next section. Thank you so much.
Confidence. Confidence. I'll cut this one and then we'll continue.
Wonderful. Thank you.